Welcome to Closet Thoughts. It's the 10th of April. I'm Bree Hott. We're going to talk about the peace formula. So this world is in a crazy state. I was just listening to a podcast of these spiritual people up in New York who are part of this Hare Krishna movement. They have this talk show where they sometimes interview different people in the world. And one of them is a chaplain, a spiritual counselor in hospitals. And he was talking about his experience lately with these COVID patients and how it's very serious. And sometimes people will come in and they're infected with this disease and they'll have days or hours to live, and they can't even see their family members because they will be in risk of getting infected. And so the gravity of this situation was just dawning on me. It can be easy to become disconnected from the world in my position, living as a monk, just focusing my mind in the teachings, these ancient teachings. So I'm really grateful to understand a little better the gravity of this situation. So I wanted to talk about the peace formula. How can we find peace in a world seemingly devoid of peace, especially in a pandemic situation like this? So just to begin, this is going to get a little heavy, but I'll clear it up at the end and introduce some positivity into it, but just bear with me. So we need to understand what's our position in this world. Our position in this world is very fragile. It's described that we are basically like a drop of water sitting on a lotus leaf. And at any moment, with the slightest amount of wind, we can get blown off this leaf. And so our situation is very, very delicate. And it's analogous to, there's this game that I've played with friends before. We probably wouldn't be allowed to play it now. It wouldn't be good with social distancing. But many of you have probably played it. So one person, hi Arjuna, thanks for watching. Let me know if you've played this game. So there's one person puts their hands on the bottom, and one person has their hands on the top like this. And the person on the bottom is supposed to slap the person's hand on top. But the person on the top, they can't move their hands until the person on the bottom has made a movement. So you're just waiting there in anxiety just for that person to make a move. And so these are analogies to help us understand our situation. Can we ever really be peaceful when we are in constant fear of something changing and being painful? You know, like if you're trying to build a home and there are a bunch of sinkholes in the area. We live in Florida here, and so there are sinkholes. You know, just a big old hole will open up in the earth. I think it's due to water underground, and then boom, your whole house can just get sucked underwater, underground, and everything you've worked for is just destroyed in a moment. And so this is our position. It's very unstable and it's very fragile. And so how can we really find peace here? We might have things which are so-called security. We have job security or national security. But at any moment, we can have a big pandemic happen like this, and boom, so many people have to leave their jobs, lose money. And national security, you know, it's very common in global history for even powerful nations to be taken over or destroyed. The great nation of Rome, the Roman Empire, not just a nation, this is an empire that was taken down. And so we can see that even the most powerful fall in this material world. And so we just need to understand this is the reality of material nature. It's always changing and it's always unstable. And so what Krishna describes in the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, which the translator Srila Prabhupada describes as the peace formula, is that we have to understand three things in order to have peace in the world. One of them, so this is in relation to God, is understanding who is Krishna, who is God, and what's his position. And this can help us attain real peace. So the first one is that God is the supreme controller of everything. The second is that he is the owner of everything. Everything is the energy of God, and therefore belongs to him, and he has the ability to manipulate and control it. And then the third one is that he is the supreme friend, or best friend of everyone. And so, just think about it. If you have a powerful friend who has a lot of influence, a lot of wealth, and they care about you, then you get to have great benefits. Not that we really want friendships like this, where we're spending time with someone just for the benefit we get from them. But this is true with anyone who has ever known someone who's somewhat famous or somewhat wealthy, somewhat even physically attractive. These are opulences, which ultimately have their source in Krishna, their source in God. And so this is the peace formula, understanding that God is the owner, controller, and friend of everyone. Because if we're worried about losing everything we have, if we're worried about lacking something, then we go to the source of everything. We only feel a lack in ourselves because we have a infinite hole in ourselves with this infinite relationship we're desiring with the source of everything. And this personal relationship with God is the sweetest thing, and it's something to be experienced individually. So this is an experimental process. So this isn't a dogmatic system of beliefs that Krishna is teaching in the Bhagavad Gita. It's something that we realize through our own direct experience. This is how Krishna describes it. It's a spiritual science. And so during this time of crisis, we can use this, our greater mental freedom to think about the bigger questions in life and try to understand what is the reality of this world. And why is there so much anxiety? Why is there so much suffering? Why do people have to die? Why is everything just taken from us at some moment in time of which we are unsure? And is there any meaning to all this? Is there a God who is controlling all of this? And so these are some of the questions that some people might be forced to consider just because it's too hard to confront. I was hearing examples of police officers or healthcare workers who they're getting a little bit depressed just seeing the reality, the gravity of the situation. So many people dying, so many people losing everything, and this is very serious. And so hopefully we can see it as with a silver lining, that this is a time to deepen our own self-awareness, and ultimately we can seek the source of all peace, use this peace formula to understand what is my relationship with God and how do I understand who this person is. So I would love to engage with further questions if anyone is curious about these ideas, because again, this isn't a dogmatic thing. This isn't something that we just blindly follow. These are just ideas we accept as hypotheses and and we work with them. We try to digest them and experience them as truth in our own life. So these are my humble words on this topic of COVID and anxiety and finding peace. And I hope this is valuable for someone out there. Please let me know if anyone has questions. I'd be very grateful to answer them or try to. And please let me know. Leave a comment, message anytime. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, Hare Krishna.